I have to keep moving the mic closer to Nate because he keeps moving away from me. Like as the story
Is that better?
as the
Hello.
story gets more intense, he shifts back in his seat and he shifts back further.
And I need to stop moving. I even need to not put my elbows on the table.
Hello and welcome to Dad Stories. Fathers are important, and this show exists to demonstrate the value of fatherhood by highlighting positive experiences with dads. No father is perfect, and not everyone has had the blessing of a good father figure in their lives. But all of us can benefit from some good stories about good dads. Today we hear from Nate Wetjen, a husband, father, veteran, and artist from the great state of Nebraska. Nate and I sat down at Man Camp, and along with co-host Kevin, we talked about life, fatherhood, and friendships that make us better men. So Nate, tell us about your dad.
Well, my dad's name was Lonnie Lou Wetjen. He was an awesome dude. He grew up in Columbus, Nebraska. I honestly don't know a whole lot about his youth, but he started going to art school and then got into basically business, doing art and teaching art. And with his friend, they bought the Omaha Art School, and started teaching in the late 60s. From there, did that for a few years, and there were some issues with facilities and other things that forced them to, they weren't going to be able to put in an elevator, so they basically had to close the business. And they just split up. He went to work for a design agency, and then he split with two other guys, and another group split and did their own thing. And my dad and his two partners started Corporate 3 Design, which is still a design firm in Omaha today. Family-wise, he married my mom in 1968, and my oldest brother was born in 69, and then 73 was my other brother, and then I was born in 83. And lots of excellent memories, lots of family stuff. And in the 90s, he developed, I don't know if it was just the 90s, it was probably forever, but he had a lot of gambling issues. There were a lot of financial problems involved with that, as well as drinking. I think that's just kind of in my family tradition. And in 1998, he had a heart attack, and I was 15 at the time. And we got a call at, 9 p.m., and he was at Horseman's Park, and they took him to, I think, Methodist Hospital, because it's right there. And he was basically unresponsive for a number of days, like completely brain dead, and the choice was made to take him off life support, and he passed away. Which I just kind of checked out. Like, there was tons of conflict between my mom and my grandma, and so it was very, I don't know, I just kind of checked out at that time. And I still don't know a whole lot about what went on, but yeah. Want some good stuff?
No, well, yes, but when your dad was here, he was an artist, and much like yourself, was that always a career for him, or did that originally start as a hobby, and he did something else, and then he was able to develop that, or was he just always like, man, I'm good enough at this that I can earn my living doing this?
He was always amazing, and he was doing calligraphy. And the stuff that he did, I still can't do. Like, the calligraphy stuff is just amazing to me. The one I remember, ironically, was for Exarban for Bill Cosby, and he'd made this giant certificate, and it was just amazing to see that stuff and all the just elaborate ink work that he could do. It obviously transferred to me. I always admired him for his talents and just the things that he did. He did our St. Bernard's logo. They still use that, they still have that today. And I was always like, my dad did that. Honestly, that he was the main reason I got into art and design, because I just had that around me all the time, and one of my brothers at least got into web design and was also an art major at UNL, which I was too. And in our broad family, we're really the only ones that all kind of got into, or most of us got into it.
So you picked up artistic talent from him, obviously, and a love for art. Are there any other of his traits or any other things that you'd say, I picked this up from my dad?
Definitely, like traditions, like family traditions. We used to go to my mom's dad had a cabin on a lake, and he loved going. Like my dad loved going out there. In the summertime, we'd go out there every other weekend, and he'd work on stuff around the cabin and hang out. And us kids would play in the sand and go swim, and it was just a blast. As well as holidays, like just kind of the traditional things, like go out to Santa's woods and get a Christmas tree and get hot chocolate inside and see the reindeer. Very involved at church. He tried to get me into Cub Scouts, and we did it. And at the time, I was just not into it. He loved nature as well, like getting out on hikes, and we did a lot of that. A decent amount of fishing. So the love of the outdoors, community, and family was huge for him, and that has definitely translated into my life as well.
Let me take a second to tell you about a company I feel strongly about. We all have a responsibility to our family and our community to be ready to help should an emergency arise. We all want to be an asset, not a liability in a crisis situation. That's where Woodline Defense comes in. Woodline Defense is a firearms instruction company based out of Omaha, Nebraska, started by a former cop who is now a pastor and teacher. They specialize in training and equipping individuals for higher levels of competence with firearms, and have programs specifically designed to help churches set up and improve security teams. They have rifle and pistol instruction from basic to advanced, along with a concealed carry class. They help folks feel comfortable, but they also push them to get better. You can find out more at woodlinedefense.com or reach out to them on Facebook. Woodline Defense. Training for those who have a heart to protect others.
So you lost your dad at 15.
Yes.
And from that point onward, how was your life different?
Well, it was very turbulent the several years before he died anyway. Immediately, obviously, one of my biggest regrets, and I don't regret a whole lot, like, I think that God's got a plan for us. And the night that he died, I was playing video games, and we were all mad at him for some of the gambling stuff that, like, he did screw up on. But I vividly remember, like, he had come downstairs, and I was just like teenager,
Kind of zoned out or
mouth breathing, like, yeah, just looking at the screen. And he said, "I love you," and I didn't say anything back. And like that's one of my biggest, like, immediate, like, since he died, like, that was one of my biggest regrets. But I was honestly very fortunate. It was May of my freshman year, so like I had played soccer, and he had been at like every game, just standing on the sidelines watching us get creamed like 18-0. Like, we didn't win any games, but like he was there, and I just remember that as well. But the principal of my high school kind of like took me under his wing and put me on the Governor's Youth Advisory Council of Nebraska, and then like got me onto the Omaha Youth Advisory Council. I did the governor's thing for 4 years. I did the Omaha thing for once. But then he put me on student council and his principals roundtable. And I think that alone probably got me into the right direction, like, as far as not just spiraling.
What did your mom try to do to compensate for losing your dad in your life?
She sent me, she went to counseling, but I also went to counseling for a little while. I don't really remember it. Very vaguely. It was not impactful. I've had very few like impactful counseling sessions with like psychologists or paid counselors. That has been a negative experience, and I rely more on community and relationships with people and books, and like just diving into very trusting, deep relationships with a few people, as well as like accepting help, like from my principal. Like I said, that was huge. And he was, when I got out of the military, and that was well, I got married, and I found his son and was like, hey man, what's your dad's number? I want to give him a call. So I talked to him and he had since retired, obviously, and like moved to Arizona or something. But just talked with him and thanked him and told him how much he meant to me, and that was really cool. So,
think that meant a lot to him to hear.
maybe, I don't know. He was a really chill guy, like kind of a man of few words. He was probably mid-50s back when I was in high school, so probably chilled out even more since.
Well, you got a chance to tell him how much you appreciated it.
Yeah,
That's a good deal.
yeah, that was big.
You had mentioned community, and I know you said before that your principal helped you out, but you also had other dads around you, friends' dads, and people in the community who kind of picked up where your dad left off or helped out with stuff. What was that like?
Amazing. Like it was. I mean, Jake's been one of the big ones because like his dad met my dad like right before he died.
For our viewers' sake, Jake was a friend of yours in high school.
Yeah, Jake and I met, I think, in geometry class, and I don't know if it was from we both watched The Rock, or we're just getting into Age of Empires, or what. But it was one of those like, did we just become best friends? And so we were hanging out, and his dad dropped him off since we were still 15, and so my dad and his dad talked a bit. So his dad, was awesome all through, most of my adult life so far. And I got to go hunting for the first time with him. I got he saw my first deer, my first buck that I got. And it just there's some amazing experiences I got with him. My neighbor growing up was amazing as well. He lost his wife probably right before my dad died. And he was he bought when I commissioned as a lieutenant, he bought me an officer's saber, which was amazing. Like I have that above my mantle, just that meant so much to me. So, and he's just this, he lost his son in a hunting accident. He lost his wife then, and then his daughter had MS. And before his daughter died, but right before that, her husband died of a heart attack. And I think of anyone I know, he has probably gone through the most. And he's just always still this just joyful person, and just looking out and serving other people. So that was a huge factor in my life as well.
Do you think maybe he was able to draw from his loss to empathize with you a bit better in that?
Oh, I'm sure he's so connected. Again, he's so connected into the community, and he was a businessman, but also just very involved at church, and he just had the community support, and he knew what God had in plan for him, in store for him. As far as, not all the sucky stuff, but just God's promises.
If you have a story to share that would inspire others or help new dads find some direction, drop me an email at hroberthansen@gmail.com. That's Hansen with an E. We're looking for inspiring and helpful stories, as well as shorter words of wisdom that can be featured at times like this. If you'd like to be a part of the Dad Stories show, send me an email. Or just continue to listen and look for opportunities to participate in the community as we grow. Thank you all, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the show. So your dad passes away at 15. Then it seems like your community steps up. You got dads and principals and neighbors and all that. They're kind of stepping in. When they were filling those gaps, feel free to bring that kind of stuff up. Be like, hey, my dad couldn't do this because he wasn't able to be there anymore, but this guy could. So I'll ask you some more questions about kind of formative years. How did your dad show authority in your life, and how did that get expressed in you and get brought down to your kids?
Well, the authority factor, I mean, in my early childhood was very established. There was the clear hierarchy. Well, not clear. I mean, they had a very, they were both very, like my mom and dad were awesome. Like in the early years, it seemed, from what I could tell, like they were my role models for what I wanted when I grew up. Like they shared authority, got us all like 3 boys, you know. Yeah, they were like my role model of, I honestly like ideal parents. And we listened, well, when we needed to, we listened to them. Like if it was serious, we listened. But we also had a lot of freedom. Like we're children of the 80s, and it was like, oh, go over to your friends, or oh, we're going over to godparents' house up till 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, just us going crazy in the basement, and they're hanging out upstairs, and we had through the community, we saw what authority looked like, and got the punishments when they were fitting, and assumed that translated to the home, and they executed as well, as far as laying down rules and enforcing them, and having expectations of us. My brothers were 9 and 14 years older than me, so I also got to watch them, and they were, as far as I knew, pretty straight laced, and they were. They worked a lot, and they both went to college, either on scholarship or by paying it for themselves, which was amazing. And they were just super hard workers. So in a way, I kind of had role models, and absolutely, I had role models in them, and they were direct results of my parents and my dad. And so it is fun hearing stories from them about him. Because a few years ago, I found a guy who worked for my dad for a while, and just like took him out to lunch and just talked to him about my dad. And he's like, "Oh man, Lon was like, he just loved having fun. He loved like playing pranks and doing stuff, and none of that I knew." And
it's like, kid, you didn't know your dad was a prankster, huh?
Well, I was also like, we'd play games, but we weren't like, he was always so busy working that, like, other than the family stuff and like the traditions and holidays and very generic stuff, we didn't have a very like close, like when in Braveheart, when the father of the Bruce was like, "You're my son. You've always known my mind." I wouldn't say that, like, I think he was gone too soon for me to really know him as a man. And I think there were a lot of things that he was really ashamed of, that, like, he wishes he could change. And he was he worked, that's why he worked so hard, because he wanted to fix his screw ups, but then he was also he was full out addicted to gambling and possibly alcoholic. Like, I think, like I said, most of my family has some relationship with alcohol. Like 2 of my close relatives had bars in Columbus, and so that's just always been a part of our family as well. So
through all of that, how did your dad show you that he loved you and that he cared about you?
kind of like I mentioned earlier, like
The traditions and
like
getting involved,
being at my games, like even through grade school, like he was at every.
How did he manage that? You just talked about how he's
that's
a super hardworking guy. How did he pull it off?
He just made time. If he was working late, it's probably because he was like, "Hey, fellow, like, partners in business, I'm going to my son's game. I'll still get this done." And they trusted each other to do that. That, like, even just flexibility in work has translated to me as a very important aspect of my job that I'm very grateful for, but also I kind of expect it. Like, I want to be able to be there for my kids when they have something important.
How did your father respond to failure in life?
I think he had those vices, gambling and
Poorly?
drinking. Yeah.
Poorly.
From what I could see, I mean, I didn't get to see how he handled things, but just from what happened, that's my assumption. And a lot of that translated to me as well. Not gambling, fortunately. That I stayed away from that with 1,000-foot pole. But
just the idea that sometimes when things get bad, there's we learn bad coping mechanisms and good ones from people.
Absolutely.
What traits do you wish you picked up from your dad? We've talked, you've been open and honest about the good and the bad. What are some things that you didn't get from him that you kind of wish you had?
The business, like, I think that is one of my fears that I plan on overcoming, is like starting a business.
So the guy's business sense is pretty impressive.
Yeah, he was just huge into networking. Like he started a business, and as well as on the side, like I remember when he was at the first design firm or marketing firm or whatever, we'd be up there on Saturdays mowing. I like my brothers and him, and at the time I think I was pretty young, and so they just sat me in the office, and I remember watching Ninja Turtles in there. It was epic.
So he's off working and has you watching Ninja Turtles?
Yeah. I was at the time still too little to be handling like trimmers and mowers and stuff, I suppose. And I probably was whining like, it's too high.
How did he respond when you were like that? Every kid at some point has been too much of a whiner or something like that.
I mean, I don't have any negative memories of me whining. There's pictures of me. Like, I remember very vividly of, well, just the pictures. I don't really remember the trip. But like in Minnesota, we had a huge family vacation, and we went for a hike. And there's just this picture of me like squatting down, like crying. And this story is just that, I got tired and wouldn't go I wouldn't move anymore. And I can only imagine, especially having kids now, I can only imagine my dad was like, ugh. But, I don't remember that. I honestly just remember smiles and like a lot of the good stuff.
So despite, like I said, you've been honest about some of your dad's struggles, but despite all that, it sounds like he did a great job of giving you a quality childhood.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the positives definitely outweigh the negatives as far as what I've chosen to retain, like to focus on, like, or yeah, it's mainly a choice. Like everybody's got their shortfalls and demons or whatever, but
how about these other guys that kind of stepped up and filled that gap after your dad couldn't be there anymore? What did you pick up from them?
Basically, to be grateful for others, like to see the good in others, as well as be appreciative for people who reach out, and then also reach out to others too.
Have you looked for opportunities to mentor other?
Yeah, I
kind of are stuck.
That was like at I work at First National, and they had a program that Tom Osborne started, teammates.org, or just teammates mentoring program. And I started doing that 6 or 7. No, it's probably been longer. It's probably been like 8 years. And it's basically you go to a school and you just hang out with a kid that is kind of, they're asked if they want to be in this program, have a mentor. And I think he was a sophomore when I started hanging with him, and hang out over lunch, take lunch up there sometimes, and just be there with him. And both his parents were in jail for drugs, and he was living with his aunt. And he did that through high school, and then he got full ride to college, and like it was kind of crazy.
So you kind of filled the role that your principal filled in your life.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, you never know. Like he had a lot of family too that I think helped as well. But
So in some ways, it sounds like in that you're mimicking what your principal did. And you'd mentioned that Jake's dad kind of helped you with like rites of passage, like hunting and all that kind of stuff. How is that translated into your own parenting?
We found a little bit of land outside the city, and like just like I love the outdoors, and I'm hoping that that will pass on to my kids as well.
Do you bring them along with you on projects?
Oh yeah, we like we got chickens, and my daughter loves doing that. My son loves like building things outside, and we just take like I'm super cheap. I don't like seeing things go to waste, so I've reused lumber and stuff multiple times, and we just built like we're building a rabbit cage house thing, and I've had the kids help build it and then paint it. Like they painted the whole thing pretty much. I did a few touch-ups, but just getting them hands-on with as much stuff. We used to go to Home Depot. Like Home Depot's marketing program for their kids is amazing. Like they host little DIY projects, and they just give them to the kids, and then they have like little pins and an apron that they give the kids for free. And it's like brilliant. You've basically won, lifelong customers, and also, you're creating something for parents to do with their kids. And we try to do that all the time. Try to go to the zoo. Like the zoo, Omaha Zoo is so amazing. We go there and kind of have a couple different, routines of just epic fun that we'll do, and that has been super memorable to do with them. As well as, again, like my aunt has a lake, and we go out there for Father's Day and then 4th of July, and then try to get out, multiple times in the summer. And we build. They've got a pretty an area of kind of steep beach, and we'll dig out holes and then just build different dams along the way and fill it with water, and get slow-mo videos of it crashing through and see it. 2 people have to put water in, and then the other 2 have to try to keep building stuff up and keep it from breaking through. So
I don't think your kids will forget that type of stuff anytime soon.
Hopefully, I can't forget it. Like I love doing that stuff. I'm like a little kid out there with them. When I was in Cub Scouts, we went to Mahoney State Park and camped out overnight, and I was so gung ho. I was like, "This is gonna be awesome." And we were staying in a teepee, like they were. We were in the teepee, and it starts just pouring, and like we're getting wet inside, and I'm feeling like, Dad, I want to go home. Like this, I don't know, I don't even remember, probably 6 or 7 maybe. He's like, let's just wait it out a little bit longer. Yeah, I don't want to. He finally was like, okay, and so it was in the middle of the night, and so I don't even remember if we went home or just slept in the car or whatever, but that one always stuck with me. Just kind of one of those cool times getting to camp out with my dad and pushing me to stick with it a little longer, but then also kind of feeling like, okay, let's go.
But he was right there alongside you too.
Yeah. So that's the one of the stories that I don't have pictures of, but I remember vividly, of just an amazing time with him.
Kevin, you got any good questions?
So when you're, growing up without your dad, were you aware that these other men were stepping in, either intentionally or unintentionally as like role models?
Yeah, especially my principal. Like, I don't know if he talked with my mom.
Well, that was my follow-up question: is if
I don't know
coordinated effort or not.
I should ask her and see like if she talked with my principal, or I don't know.
And then when you're going through that time, were you appreciative to these guys, or for trying to help out, or were you maybe resentful that they were trying to I'm going to air quote, replace your dad in some way?
Oh no, like
were you just kind of just getting through life and just what was happening was happening?
a little of the getting through life, but like, I mean, my principal, like the things that he put me on, I was like, I have no business in this. Like, he appointed me to student. I did not get voted into student council, but he, like, the principal, like, retained the authority to put students on student council, and like honestly, that helped me develop, because like it was actually one of my friends from grade school on student council as well. But then all the super high performers, like that, all the athletes, and if I wouldn't have that, I'd just been kind of, I don't know. I definitely wouldn't have strived or worked as hard as I did in high school, because I had a lot of awesome friends, and then I also had some friends who weren't so awesome. And but yes, I definitely recognized his help. I mean, I don't know. I hope that I was grateful. That's one reason I like looked him up and called him, because I wanted him to know that I am still grateful for all that he did. And I think Jake's dad knew how much I appreciated him too. And I still like, my neighbor is like probably 89 years old, and I still get in touch with him every year. Not as much, but yeah, I've definitely thought about that. Again, at the time, probably not, but I try to. That's one thing that I've really been trying to get the kids to do. Both Rachel and I, like getting the kids to write thank you cards. Honestly, I'm terrible at that. Like I appreciated last night here, like just thanking the staff, and again, like just being around other people. There's usually at least the one or two that are like, hey, we should do something special for like so and so or whatever. So it's always nice to have that reminder, because we do get busy with life, and it's so important to stop and recognize, kind of just recognize the people that are part of your life, have an impact, and be grateful. So.
And so Keith was asking about, traits that you took after your father. Can you think of any traits that you are modeling after these other men that stepped up?
I hope leadership, like, and initiative to just do the right thing, and like be looking out for other people, and have a vision to build community, like with other men, as well as like just other people, like, and kids. And because there's no, like, there are systems, but like the best thing is for people to just have a desire to help someone else. I hope that I can, help, even if each of us just helps a few people to do that, then I mean, you should ideally have just an exponential number of people in the future that are doing that. Even having maybe, I don't know, 12 people and sending them out to help other people. It's like we have a model for that or something.
For a lot of dads, one of the big stressors in life is not knowing what's going to happen if they aren't here tomorrow. They care about their families. They want to take care of their kids. Were the worst to happen, what do you think a dad can do to prepare for when he's not there, if he still wants to have his kids taken care of and loved?
Just be present with them. But also, like, I mean, I've spent my whole adult life trying to get myself in order. And I finally started taking a look at some of the more serious things that cause me stress. Fortunately, none of those things have caused me to go off the deep end in anything. And fortunately, like, I've had enough people, like, especially financially, my mom helped me know the priorities. She was like, you need to save this much by the time you're 30 and invest like retirement stuff, and you need to get your don't just buy stuff. And that honestly, that was one of the big things that helped me to be responsible with my finances, and also help learn to do things God's way and be generous in that respect as well. And I think they see us do that stuff. We've been showing them, not necessarily telling them. Well, no, they see it, but they also get instructed like, hey, you're doing your chores and learning how to do things with excellence and integrity, and then what to do with the money that you earn, like as far as savings and giving and spending. But again, like the relationships that I try to focus on and the community that I've tried to be involved in, and I have no fears as far as that goes, because I mean, God's got plans for each of us anyway, and especially as parents, like we can only train them so much. They're not ours anyway. Like God's got His purpose for each of them, and it's kind of just like a huge privilege, like a privilege to be part of it, to help train them in the skills and character traits that I think are important.
So you're saying there's no magic wand? We just have to do the best we can at that time and get them involved in the community, or
help them to build relationships with other people and have trusted friends, and like that. Honestly, that's what I need to work on now with them, is them building incredibly close friends. They have family, but they need to, and they're good at making friends. But I mean, that's like a lifelong process of building trust with others and being able to put yourself aside, like being selfless, putting others in front of you as far as their needs go, and just having fun with people, playing paintball, chess, and doing interviews, and figuring out life and just doing life together.
Thanks for coming on in and doing life together with us.
Well, thank you.
I appreciate it.
That was excellent.
Thanks for listening. And again, if you'd like to get in touch with our team, you can email me at hroberthansen@gmail.com. We hope to inspire new dads, tell stories about good dads, and highlight positive fatherhood along the way. If you'd like to be informed about future content, subscribe to the show, and we sure would appreciate it if you could leave a positive review.